Welcome. I'm Ileana. The Celtic Cross Spread is one of the most famous and useful spreads you can use in your tarot practice. It is a great overview of any situation and considers a person's past and possible future, as well as the opinions of those around them. Today we'll be doing a deep dive into the Celtic Cross Spread, including its history and some variation, in hopes that this intimidating spread will become something you will better understand and maybe feel more comfortable using in your tarot. All the sites I used for my research will be linked in the description. Today I'll be using my camping deck. This one's, it's camping deck 2.0 right at this point. I think I'm going to do one more iteration, and when I make those, I think I'll make a video. Yeah, I made these, obviously. I'll explain everything in the making of the camping deck video. Okay, let's go to the table. The Celtic Cross Spread is 10 cards. It makes a cross within a cross, or a cross within a circle, and a staff. This horizontal line represents time moving from the past to the future. This vertical line represents mental energy from subconscious to conscious. The cross and circle represents feminine internal energy, and the staff concerns a masculine external energy. Don't get worried if all that sounds like a lot. It's just something to keep in mind and to use as a guide as you're learning this spread. But before we get into the specific card placement readings, let's talk a little about the history of this spread. The first published reference to the Celtic Cross Spread was in A. Waite's The Pictorial Key to the Tarot, a book released in 1910. He says, "I offer in the first place a short process which has been used privately for many years past in England, Scotland, and Ireland. I do not think that it has been published, certainly not in connection with tarot cards, and I believe it will serve all purposes. This would suggest that this spread was invented at least in the 1800s, but it may be even older." I do not lay the cards out exactly as in the original spread. I learned a variation. I did not know it was a variation when I learned it, but having used the variation for decades, I won't change to the original at this point. These spreads are not sacred in themselves, and after so long of reading the spread in the form that I do, the repetition and expectation guide my hands and the cards. I'll show you the original form and then the variation that I use, which I find a little simpler. Waite suggests you choose a court card, page, knight, queen, or king, to represent the person you are reading for, and place it in the middle of the spread, upright. This is called a signifier. Each court card has physical, psychological, and astrological meanings attached to it, and you can choose a card for the person, or you can let the person choose any card in the deck. Or you could use an oracle card, either specifically chosen for that person or randomly dealt. Some people like to have that card off to the side to keep in mind the overall energy of the situation or the reading. I used to use court cards as a signifier, but I don't anymore. I don't think the spread requires it, personally, and taking a card out of the deck to use it as a signifier means that it cannot be used if it wanted to come up in the spread, you know? But I am not you. You do what you think is useful for your practice. For this sample reading, I'll randomly draw the signifier. We have gratitude. So the person we are reading for is a grateful person, likely in touch on some level with their inner self. After this signifier, we lay a card over it. This covers him. When I use this spread, this is the first card that I place. This is the situation right now. It's kind of an overview or of a starting point. And today we have recovery. So this person is in need of some healing time. They have been hurt in some way. Next, we lay a card across. This crosses him. This card shows the opposing forces or challenges the person is dealing with. And here we have self-indulgence. So maybe they sincerely need to recover from something, but it's possible they're falling into self-pity or dramatizing the severity of their injury. Let's find out. But here is where the difference is between how I lay out and the original layout begins. I'll explain more when I show you my layout. We lay a card here. What crowns him? This represents the person's aim in this situation as well as the best possible outcome. And here we have bondage. This is interesting, as generally this is thought to be a negative word, but maybe the person is desiring a partnership. That can be a kind of bondage. Someone to take the pressure off of every little thing being the person's responsibility. Someone to give input, but in the confident way where sometimes this person can take a back seat and just enjoy the ride when the driver is someone you can completely trust. Now we lay a card here. What is beneath him? This represents something in the past of the person that has become part of their subconscious. Remember, this line is the line from subconscious to conscious. This card represents it's part of why they are the way they are. We have isolation today. Now this makes sense with the bondage as the desire, because this person feels they have always sort of been on their own and maybe would like the comfort of being controlled a little as a way of feeling supported. This is a good example of a confusing card, making more sense as you read the rest of the cards. So let's continue. Now we lay a card to the left. What is behind him? This represents the recent past of the person and what might have led to the current situation more directly than what's beneath him. Here we have actualization. This person has recently discovered something about themselves that made them stronger. They have accepted something or realized something that made them feel closer to themselves or to the universe. But this thing has hurt them, as we can see from what covers him. Maybe they have lost hope of stopping their isolation and decided to just lean into it. Maybe they, as we can see from what crosses him, are falling into self-pity, while at the same time growing and accepting their lot in life. Now we lay a card here on the right. What is before? This represents the near future of the person. We have nurture. So we see that in the near future, they will get the nurturing they feel they require right now to heal. I assume it will come from outside of themselves, as we have bondage for what crowns him. This outside force may be a person, but it could also be a commitment to a religion, as you could easily bond yourself under a dogma. Now we start the staff and talking about external forces surrounding the question. Remember, the cross and circle is the feminine internal question, and the staff is the external masculine energy. This first card is himself. This represents the person's attitude and what needs to be done for a breakthrough. And we have expansion. Again, this points to breaking isolation, expanding your circle of friends, or expanding within your own mind. This person is ready to expand beyond the isolation that we have recently acknowledged and found pain in. Now we lift this card. His house. This represents things outside of the control of the person and the ideas of their families, friends, co-workers, etc. And we have decision here. It seems that other people think this person needs to make a decision of some kind. They can tell that the person is struggling with something and that a decision is just around the corner. Now we'd lay down this card, hopes and fears. This represents either the hopes or fears of a combination of the person around this situation. And today we have rest. This person is tired and hurt and is sick of being alone and having to make all the decisions that everyone else is making them do. They hope they can just rest. They need time for themselves. Maybe the person in his house doesn't think that this person needs to make a decision for themselves, but wants to make decisions for them. Again, a good example of how the cards can inform each other as you go along. Now we have the final card. What will come? This represents the likely outcome of the reading. We have backward. It is recommended to compare this card with what crowns him to see how closely they align. Let's do that now. We have backward and bondage. These two cards together suggest to me that the bondage they are looking for is from their past. Maybe they have lost connection with their family or a friend or a lover, and reconnecting with those people could be the best path forward for them. The isolation that they're trying to accept but are being hurt by could be solved by looking back on when and why they started to feel isolated, and if possible, reach out to the people involved in that situation and try to reconnect. This person needs support, rest, and to feel comfortable stepping back for at least a little while. Life does not always give us the opportunity to pause things and receive what we need, but we can always try to snatch what we can to stop us from starving in that way, if that makes sense. So that was the original form of the Celtic Cross. I prefer the variation that I've learned, and you might too. So I will quickly redeal and go through this variation. This version is simpler, but I think I may only think that because I've been using it for decades and I'm extremely comfortable with it. The choice is yours, of course, and there's more than just these two variations. You have to find the one that's best for you. Here we go. First card, this covers her. This card is read the same as the original. It represents the general situation and maybe some feelings about it. And here we have inner work. This person is looking to do some inner work, or feels that inner work or work on themselves to become stronger and more confident could help them right now. The second card is... This crosses her. I always read this card upright. Same as original again. Any opposing force or challenge in this situation. And here we have banal. So this person is feeling held back by how boring and everyday things are. They're struggling to find the time or energy to do the inner work that they feel called to do, because the repetitive day-to-day things we all need to do are taking up all their time. Here's the third card, and I always put it down here. This is beneath her. This card represents the far past, similar to, oh, that's right, it was down here. Sorry, I'm so unfamiliar with the original spread. Anyway, it represents the far past, and here we have control. This person feels that they're under someone else's control for a long time. Maybe they were controlled a lot growing up, or maybe they were in a controlling relationship in their past that they have liberated themselves from. Maybe their finances had them under a tight control, a tight budget. Let's see what else the cards have to say for us to clarify. The fourth card this is behind her. And this card represents the near past, and we have scarcity. So this person is feeling that they might not be getting enough of something, or they do not have enough of something. Again, this might be money or belongings, or they may feel something deeper is missing, something inside of themselves. This seems most likely because this covers here says inner work. This person feels that what they see on the surface is not everything, because they feel an emptiness, a need that is not being met. Next card this crowns her. This represents a far future, and we have intuition in that position. This person wants to rely more on their intuition, and seems they will get to that point with themselves. They already know that inner work is needed, and if they follow the path, they will be at the point where they can trust their intuition, because they have laid such strong foundations of self-care and trust in their own bond with the universe. The next card this is before him or her. I say him or her depending on who I'm reading for, so it doesn't really matter which one you say in a sample kind of reading. This represents the possible near future, and we have quick. Things will move quickly for this person, and soon. I hope they are prepared. I don't know if they'll be dealing with something that will happen to them from the outside, or if they will have a sudden revelation that will change things, but soon something unexpected will happen, and they will find themselves on a new path. So I would tell them to brace themselves, as something's about to happen quickly. The next card is what she fears. This represents the person's fears about the situation. We have denial. Here we see that the person is afraid they will not recognize the things that they need and have. That they will deny the truth because they may not be ready to accept it. They do not trust their intuition at this point because they haven't yet done the inner work needed to bolster their confidence. Eighth card is family and friends. This represents the opinions of their family and friends. I actually liked the term his house. I guess it would be her house in this situation. I might start saying that her house. Anyway, we have knowledge. The person's family and friends see this person is seeking knowledge or needs knowledge, or perhaps the family and friends have the knowledge the person is looking for. I would advise this person to talk with their family or friends to see how they feel and what they know about spirituality, intuition, self-care, self-confidence, the inner work. You could get some outside help. Next card is hopes. This represents the hopes of the person, and we have destiny. This person hopes they can fulfill a destiny. They want to be in line with what the universe has in mind for them. They want to trust in something other than just themselves, to find a way to transcend the banality of their lives, to do something bigger, something great. 10th card is final advice. This represents the final advice about this spread and about this situation. We have creativity. So here is the key to all of this person's struggle. They are being creatively blocked and feel stagnant. Find a way to express yourself creatively. whether that be with any art form or experimenting in the kitchen or reading tarot, maybe. There are many, many ways to be creative. Don't hold yourself back by saying, but I'm not talented. You're not selling that watercolor or whatever you're about to create. It's just for you to quiet your mind, take a step sideways from your life for a little while, to start to form a bond with your creativity and a link to the universe. So that's the variation that I like to use when I do my Celtic Cross. It is slightly different from the original. Like I say, I think it's a little more simple, easier, but like I said, they may be because I've been using it for a long time. So don't be afraid of the Celtic Cross. Look up more variations. Try different things. What's the harm in it? And you're like, oh, it's 10 cards. Yeah, okay. And I would recommend using oracle cards that just have words on them when you're just trying to learn the spread, if you really want to focus on learning the meanings of the different placements and how the cards can interact with each other. It makes it much easier if you don't know all of the tarot card names and, meanings. Pardon me. Okay. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope that this can start you on a path to learning more spreads, especially very famous ones like this, very useful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Of course, I'd always love to hear what you have to say. I just love spending this time with you, and thank you for sticking with me through this long video. Okay. Till next time. Bye.